The focus of this release was set on a major update and extension of our kinematic module. Still, we have added many new features that are a step forward for static users, as well as a new interface. Due to our old cloud logo, we have increasingly had awkward encounters at trade shows where interested people asked about our cloud services. Clarifying misunderstandings like this took quite some time, so we have made the decision to tackle this issue. Hence, we tried to find a unique icon that signifies what we are really doing. The solution was relatively simple. The bell curve perfectly represents what our software is doing. It applies statistics and adjustment theory. After installation of Scantra 3.5, keep looking for the icon on the right. The graphical user interface has been significantly updated. It now allows importing several trajectories and kinematic scans in one go that can be batch processed later on. Additionally, the conversion step from kinematic scans to semi-static scans can now be rerun with different settings in order to find the best solution for your data. Metadata of the trajectory are now also displayed. The first release of our kinematic module only allowed the segmentation of a kinematic scan into fixed segments that could not be altered once created. Should a specific segment either contain a slam anomaly that lead to a tension in the network or a disturbed part that should be removed from the resulting dataset, users were left with no real options. Hence, we have overworked this weak spot by allowing to alter, insert, or combine different segments after their initial creation. A vital missing link in our first release of the kinematic release was the absence of a visualization. The user only got to see the trajectory, but not the point cloud. Hence, users can now visualize the slice of a point cloud at the height of the sensor's origin. The slider helps to analyze the data in greater detail in order to identify areas of the point cloud that require more attention than others. Some handheld scanners allow to capture target centers in a tactile fashion. These local points can be used as superior control points further down the processing pipeline. Scantra is now able to import these control points, including timestamps, so that they can be associated with a semi-static scan. The vast majority of mobile mapping systems, as well as some personally carried kinematic laser scanners, possess more than one LiDAR module. For instance, the Gexel Heron MS Twin, or the Viametris MS96. In this case, several point clouds may be associated to a single trajectory. In Scantra, 3.4 users were forced to import individual point clouds as separate entities. By extending our data structure, users are now able to assign n point clouds to one trajectory. As a consequence, only one tree structure is assembled during the detection phase, and all point clouds receive identical transformation parameters. All mobile mapping platforms and some personally carried laser scanners possess RTK positioning solutions. In this case, Scantra now allows you to introduce this information as an observation in the adjustment. This is achieved by introducing point identities between the origin of a semi-static scan and a GNSS position. Hence, the drift of your system cannot exceed the accuracy of RTK, unless, of course, multipath effects occurred or other blunders biased the GNSS solution. Before this release, the sectional view tinted planes based on their association to a certain station. Yet, in some cases, it is either interesting to know to which group stations respectively their planes belong, or based on which data source they were recorded. Hence, users can now choose 3 different colorization schemes in the sectional view window, namely 1. Color by stations, 2. Color by associated group, 3. Color by data source, static or kinematic. The vertical toolbar now features a new button that allows to control the colorization for stations' respectively relations. It features 3 options. 1. Colorise by geodetic metrics, previously existing method. These numbers are computed after a block adjustment and can be controlled in the Network Analysis tab. 2. Colorise stations based on height. We have added this option, which is very helpful, particularly in staircases where the user can easily see height differences among stations in the 2D view. 3. Colorise by group association. The function group frame in the graphics window is very helpful for adding annotations to certain groups, as well as to see the extents of a group. Given the case that the bounding boxes of groups are overlapping, it is impossible for the user to identify to which group a certain station is associated. Therefore, we have added this feature that colorizes stations based on their group association. In complex, large complex projects, it can be tedious to visually spot selected items. In addition to several new best helpers, our team has added a toggle function that allows to find the needle in a haystack with ease. Pushing the space key once items such as relations or stations are selected paints all unselected items gray, while the selected items are highlighted in the color that the user has assigned in the settings. The browsers for relations and stations now feature a so-called autofocus function, which immediately focuses on selected entries. This is particularly helpful for browsing through entries, for instance, if they have been selected by a database query via the filter function or by clicking at a set of one of the browsers. A new option for the browsers allows to transfer the selected entities into a separate browser window. This is, for instance, particularly helpful for browsing through legend entries or to check how many vertical axes were deactivated in a certain area of a project. Depending on how relations were created, it can be helpful to remove particular long ones from the network. This can be achieved by using the new length column of the relations browser. If a user wants to check if 2 scans can potentially be matched, it was until now necessary to tediously create a relation between them. It is now possible to open the Matchmaker directly by selecting the 2 scans in questions in the graphics window and using either a shortcut, F9 or F10, or by clicking the Matchmaker icon. In some cases, the sectional view shows very long, implausible lines. The reason for this are very slant angles of incidence between a detected plane and the sectional plane. We have added another filter that drastically reduces this effect. Let's say that some file names for stations have become monumental in terms of length. In order to reduce the amount of redundant and meaningless text in the graphics window, such as an encoded project number, 2 new options are available to trim the shown file name. We are aware of the irony that the previous sentence was rather long. We were approached by several clients that use Scantra for registration, but want to remain in the Leica ecosystem afterwards. Since it is very inefficient, having to re-import registered E57-point clouds into Leica Register 360, which is additionally accompanied by a loss of information, we have implemented an unofficial interface. It allows to import one or more existing Register 360 projects into one Scantra project. Scantra reads the existing network topology, existing local targets, point identities, and point cloud names. Unfortunately, E57 still serves as an initial vehicle for the point cloud. Yet the files are not required in the latter, since all Register 360 project databases are updated with the registration parameters from Scantra. We are delighted to announce that Faro Amatec has continued the license for the Faro Scene Scantra interface for 3 more years. Hence, Faro users can continue to seamlessly going back and forth between both solutions. Until now, Scantra only imported spherical targets and checkerboards from Faro Scene projects. We now also consider natural points of interest that were manually digitized by a user. If you are connected to a Faro Scene project, and the color from scans has been applied to the point cloud in the Scene project, the color will now also be displayed in OpenScan tools and exported along with the intensity when exporting to E57.